very special announcement to make. For your Halloween and horror pleasure, I, Roger Clark, along with some of the leading actors of the gaming and voice acting industry, have put together an audiobook of horror short stories. For your listening pleasure, and all proceeds go directly to St. Jude's charity. It's for a great cause. Present at a hanging and other horror short stories written by the famous 19th century horror novelist Ambrose Bierce. For your listening pleasure, details are in the bio or link attached. Listen to this photo we've got. We have Victoria Atkin, Troy Baker, Ashley Birch, myself, Roger Clark, Roger Craig Smith, Nashir Dalal, Gray Delisle Griffin, new up-and-comer Elgin L. Train Foster, Alex McKenna, Sharon Muthu, Nolan North, Rob Paulson, Alana Pierce, Carolina Ravassa, and Elias Tufexis. We hope you enjoy it. And happy Halloween. The Other Lodgers. Narrated by Elgin L. Train Foster.
In order to take that train, said Colonel Levering sitting in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, you will have to remain nearly all night in Atlanta. That is a fine city, but I advise you not to put up at the Breathitt House, one of the principal hotels. It is an old, wooden building in urgent need of repairs. There are breaches in the walls that you could throw a cat through. The bedrooms have no locks on the doors, no furniture, but a single chair in each, and a bedstead without bedding, just a mattress. Even these meager accommodations you cannot be sure that you have in a monopoly. You must take your chance of being stowed within a lot of others. Sir, it is a most abominable hotel. The night that I passed in was an uncomfortable night. I got in late and was shown my room on the ground floor by an apologetic night clerk with a tallow candle, which he considerately left with me. I was worn out by 2 days and a night of hard railway travel, and had not entirely recovered from the gunshot wound in the head, received in an altercation. Rather than look for better quarters, I laid down on a mattress without removing my clothes and fell asleep. Along toward morning I awoke. The moon had risen and was shining in at the uncurtained window, illuminating the room with a soft, bluish light which seemed somehow a bit spooky, though I dare say it had no uncommon quality. All moonlight is that way, if you will observe it. Imagine my surprise and indignation when I saw the floor occupied by at least a dozen other lodgers. I sat up, earnestly damning the management of the unthinkable hotel, and was about to spring from the bed and go make trouble for the night clerk, him of the apologetic manner and a tallow candle, when something in the situation affected me, with a strange indisposition to move. I suppose I was what a story writer might call frozen with terror. Those men were obviously all dead. They lay on their backs, disposed orderly along 3 sides of the room, their feet to the walls, against the other wall. Furthest from the door stood my bed and the chair. All their faces were covered, but under their white clothes, the features of the 2 bodies that lay in the square patch of moonlight near the window showed a sharp profile, as the nose to chin. I thought this was a bad dream, and tried to cry out as one does in a nightmare, but couldn't make no sound. At last, with a desperate effort, I threw my feet to the floor, passing between the 2 rows of clouded faces and 2 bodies that lay nearest the door. I escaped that infernal place and ran to the office. The night clerk was there, behind the desk, sitting in the dim light of another tallow candle, just sitting and staring. He did not rise. My abrupt entrance produced no effect upon him, though I must have looked a veritable corpse myself. It occurred to me that I had not before really observed the fellow. He was a little chap with a colorless face and the whitest, blankest eyes I've ever saw. He had no more expression than the back of my hand. His clothing was dirty gray. "Damn you," I said. "What do you mean?" Just the same, I was shaking like a leaf in the wind and did not recognize my own voice. The night clerk rose, bowed apologetically, and well, he was no longer there. In that moment, I felt a hand laid upon my shoulder from behind. Just fancy that if you can. Unspeakably frightened, I turned and saw a portly, kind-faced gentleman who asked, "What is the matter, my friend?" I was not long in telling him, but before I made an end of it, he went pale himself. "See here," he said, "are you telling the truth?" I had now got myself in hand in terror and had given place to indignation. "If you dare to doubt it," I said, "I'll hammer the life out of you." "No," he replied, "don't do that. Just sit down till I tell you. This is not a hotel. It used to be. Afterward, it was a hospital. Now it's unoccupied, awaiting a tenant. The room that you mentioned was a dead room. There were always plenty of dead. The fellow that you call the night clerk used to be that, but later he booked the patients as they were brought in. I don't understand his being here. He has been dead for weeks." "And who are you?" I blurted out. "Oh, I look after the premises. I happened to be passing just now and seeing a light in here and came to investigate." "Let us have a look into that room," he added, lifting the sputtering candle from the desk. "I'll see you at the devil's first," said I, bolting out of the front door into the street. "Sir, that breathed house in Atlanta is a beastly place." "Don't you stop there." "God forbid. Your account of it certainly does not suggest comfort. By the way, Colonel, when did all that occur?" "In September 1864, shortly after the siege."
An Unfinished Race. Narrated by Elgin L. Train Foster.
James Byrne Warson was a shoemaker who lived in Leamington, Warwickshire, England. He had a little shop in one of the byways leading off the road to Warwick. In his humble sphere, he was esteemed an honest man, although like many of his class in English towns, he was somewhat addicted to drink. When in liquor, he would make foolish wagers. On one of these two frequent occasions, he was boasting of his prowess as a pedestrian and athlete, and the outcome was a match against nature. For a stake of 1 sovereign, he undertook a run all the way to Coventry and back, a distance of something more than 40 miles. This was on the 3rd day of September in 1873. He set out at once. The man whom he had made the bet, whose name is not remembered, accompanied by Barham Wise, a linen draper, and Harmison Burns, a photographer, I think. Following in a light cart or wagon for several miles, Warson went on very well at an easy gait, without apparent fatigue, for he had really great powers of endurance and was not sufficiently intoxicated to enfeeble them. The 3 men in the wagon kept a short distance in the rear, giving him occasional friendly chaff or encouragement as the spirit moved them. Suddenly, in the very middle of the road, not a dozen yards from them, with their eyes full upon him, the man seemed to stumble, pitched headlong forward, uttered a terrible cry, and vanished. He did not fall to the earth. He vanished before touching it. No trace of him was ever discovered. After remaining at and about the spot for some time, with aimless irresolution, the 3 men returned to Leamington, told their astonishing story, and were afterwards taken into custody. But they were of good standing and had always been considered truthful, were sober at the time of their occurrence, and nothing ever transpired to discredit this sworn account of their extraordinary adventure, concerning the truth of which, nevertheless, public opinion was divided throughout the United Kingdom. If they had something to conceal, their choice of means is certainly one of the most amazing ever made by sane human beings.